I recently had Sean, the developer of Project Moonborn, on the channel, and he mentioned that before he began, he had no idea how to code and didn't have too many skills that are relevant to game dev. And this got me curious. How do you get started from such a position? And this excerpt from the full interview is his story. I think it is interesting and hopefully it will be useful for anyone who was wondering how to begin.
I started in 2018 and I did not know how to write a single line of code, like absolutely nothing. I'd never worked in a game engine before, so I came in, the only knowledge I had was music, because that's sort of the thing that I've been doing most of my life, and a little bit of pixel art and animation from many, many years ago. Everything else I had to learn from the ground up. And effectively, I just went onto YouTube and I searched for a Unity tutorial. It was Jack the Giant, a very simple, basic sort of platforming game where you run on clouds and collect coins. Very, very simple stuff. And my initial thought was, I don't know if I can learn this because I'm not very good at math. So I've always convinced myself that I can never become a programmer because you have to be good at maths, right? That was my thought. But eventually I just said, screw it, I'm going to try it. There's nothing to lose. Downloaded the tutorial, got started, very quickly learned that, hey, this is not, I can do this. I can actually do this. Coding is not that complicated. And once I learned a little bit from a tutorial, I started implementing that into my own projects. And then whenever I ran into issues and I was like, I want to do this thing, but I don't know how, I went looking for more tutorials. So I was constantly sort of swapping between doing tutorials, learning a little bit from those, then applying it to my own project until I ran into a new dead end, went back to continuing the tutorials, and gradually over time, as you start learning more and more tools from the tutorials, you get better at experimenting with your own project and your own code, and you become less and less reliant on tutorials. And before you know it, you're kind of just coding. So I highly recommend start with a simple tutorial. You don't even really have to finish it. You can have multiple tutorials and then because one thing that I found was I wasn't interested in the games that I was making in the tutorials, right? Those were Flappy Birds, they were platforming Jack the Giant and all kinds of stuff. I didn't care about those games. But I had to go through the tutorials to learn how to make my own game because I had this desire to make my own project. So just pick things that you can learn and then apply them to your own game. And even today, it's even easier because I'll say a word of caution in terms of AI. They're very good at helping you clean up the code that you've written, but don't rely too heavily on them writing all the code for you because they're not very good at that. And you really do want to learn the basics and understand the basics of coding so that you can spot when the AI, like ChatGPT or whatever they are, when they are giving you bad code, because they often do that. So don't rely entirely on AI. Try and use it as a helping tool to sort of point towards what your code is doing wrong, because the AI is often pretty good at spotting that. But beyond that, go for tutorials and try to supplement it with your own passion for what you want to make, because just making the tutorials that you might not be interested in, that's not super engaging and super fun. But there's nothing wrong in just switching from tutorials to your own project. That's how I got started, and I'm a dummy. I don't know anything, and here I am making a game, a rather complex game. So anyone can do it. If I can, certainly anyone else can. And it's super fun. Like once you start learning and get started, it's so rewarding. I highly, highly recommend it.
Great stuff, man. I do appreciate the explanation.
Of course.